The media days of the Big 12 has come and gone. We've got the Big 10 coming up pretty soon, the SEC as well. It's making me think of a Saturday where I wake up at 7 and I put a bunch of bacon and eggs and hash browns on my Blackstone.
Oh, yeah.
And the sun is still shining, but I know college football is coming at 9 a.m. and I'm starting to feel a certain way. It's starting to tingle a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's almost here, buddy. I want to enjoy every ounce of summer that we have left.
Me too.
But when you start getting media days and preview magazines are out, and it just we're close, man. You can almost smell it.
Speaking of smelling it, I am smelling a shift. There's a shift in the winds.
Uh-oh, what's shifting?
The smell is coming out of Eugene, Oregon.
A lot of weed.
Where Dillon Gabriel has now become the Heisman favorite. It's a July shift. We've gotten Heisman odds.
Hey-oh. What was he, third or fourth, I think, for most of the offseason?
He was third. He has passed Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers as the betting favorite at plus 750, according to ESPN, as the Heisman favorite. I find him interesting. He seems like a really good guy. Good story. Obviously had a lengthy college career here, much like the previous Oregon quarterback.
He's only 23. Calm down.
He could pass, I think, Bo, if he plays the full season.
He's a young pup. He's a young pup. Green behind the ears.
Don't connect.
He's
only
just
23.
Learning the system. Give him time.
No, what I find interesting here is that he has passed these other guys in the Heisman odds, although it is July, so you can certainly say, well, does that matter now?
Yeah.
It doesn't in the grand scheme. What I find interesting is continued thought of you had top-end quarterback play. Some were debating if it was the best year in Oregon history. I think Mariota would like a word.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you had a lot of Duck fans going, I don't know, man. Herbert, Mariota, Bo Nix, Mary, Kill, F. I don't know. I'm wondering, I think he's a good player. The level of production that he's going to give them versus what Bo was for him what is that difference? I don't know. And I think Jordan James is going to have an exceptional season.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Dillon Gabriel now the Heisman favorite down in Eugene, Oregon. There's no underdog.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
Yeah,
there's
none of that.
Nobody's giving us a chance.
None of that. You got the best
3.
quarterback according to the odds makers for Heisman Trophy running in the nation.
Number 3 in the preseason polls. Nobody's giving us a chance to be in the top 2. Look, somebody's got to be the little engine that could. We will be that team this year. Okay, we will fight that uphill battle. No, I mean on a serious note, how different will it look? Like it's interesting because he is such a accomplished quarterback coming in. It's different than Bo Nix. When Bo Nix came in, he had moments as a freshman. He had moments at his time at Auburn, but it was a lot of hit and miss. It was a lot of, has this guy got it? And there was a bit of skepticism from myself included when he transferred in. That's not the case with Dillon Gabriel, man. You look at his 4 full years as a starter, so take out the year, I think that he got hurt at Central Florida his last year there. First year full starter at Central Florida, he was 29 touchdowns, 7 picks. Second year at UCF, 32 touchdowns, 4 picks. Then he goes to Oklahoma, and in 2 years, he goes 25-6 and 30-6. Like his career numbers are outstanding. They are exponentially better than what Bo Nix was bringing to the table. And I think the area that maybe separates him a little bit in terms of a Heisman candidacy will be their willingness and his willingness to run the football. I think there was a concerted effort from Oregon last year to protect Bo Nix. 1, because of the way he got hurt to end the previous season, but also 2, there just wasn't a trustworthy backup in place. And, despite all our comments about Ty Thompson, there was a bit of a fall off on the shelf there. Now, maybe they feel the same way about Dante Moore and they're going to be very guarded, but that's a guy who has started Power 5 football and was the number 1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school. And if you go look at Dillon Gabriel in his time at Oklahoma the last 2 years, he ran for over 300 yards in both seasons. He had marquee moments in that Texas comeback win where he was running the football. He had 12 rushing touchdowns last year. And so I think their willingness to use him a little bit more in the run game and to be a little more physical as a +1 in that aspect might end up being the difference where his total touchdown numbers end up being closer to what Jaden Daniels has because of the rushing totals.
I think whatever Dillon told that staff before he committed to going to Oregon as a transfer is what he's going to get. I think if we're just being honest here, Dan Lanning is a very player-friendly coach,
Absolutely,
right? Like that's a reputation he's already established as himself. I think it's part of the reason why you're seeing all this recruiting success, which is another thing I want to bring up with you. If Dillon Gabriel was like, hey, I really want to showcase my arm, not really trying to be mobile guy anymore, want to stay healthy because I want a shot in the draft. I think Dan Lanning and Will Stein are both going to go, yep, you got it.
He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
Well, he doesn't either to me. I'm just saying whatever Dillon Gabriel
I agree with that,
told them, that's what they're going to do.
I also don't know, and maybe I'm just wrong on this. I don't follow it this early out. I have never looked at Dillon Gabriel and thought, NFL quarterback.
Well, me either.
He is a prolific college quarterback. That's why he's been there for 7 years.
And again, the smaller end of things.
It's different than Bo. Bo stuck around for a long time because he wasn't very good in his first 3 seasons. Gabriel has been very good his entire career. The numbers at least speak for it. And so I think he is maybe somebody takes a flyer on him late in the draft, but he seems to me like the guy, you win a Heisman, you get to a college football playoff, you get to a national championship. That's the peak of his quarterbacking career.
CFL legend.
And then he becomes a head coach or a CFL guy. He's 5'10", he's a little undersized.
I mean, if you don't have great NFL prospects, and you're still going to try, right? Because, well, why would you not?
Exactly, yeah.
This could be it for you. This is your Super Bowl season. You do as much as you possibly can. They're picked by many, and I want to ask Simonton about this, Jesse Simonton of On3.com, of just what he makes of the whirlwind of Oregon right now, because it feels like they are having a moment. They got the number 1 wide receiver, and according to Andrew Nemec, composite ranking, the highest-ranked player in program history recently.
DeCorian
Moore. They are also in the running. It seems like it's boiling down 2 programs for DJ Pickett, who is the number 1 cornerback in the country.
Top 5 player.
It's coming down to Miami, who has recently put a real push on this and becoming right in the thick of the race.
He's a Miami kid, too.
And Oregon. Yeah. It's a Mario versus Lanning.
Bring it, bitch.
The former coach against the current coach, the hometown, program against the Far West program. DJ Pickett, the number 1 corner, is trending. Some have crystal balled him to go to Oregon, but we'll see if Mario Crystal Ball changes the crystal ball and gets the hometown kid to stay home. Obviously, NIL is going to have a big part of this.
Of course.
But so is also just, I think, personality of coaches, where Lanning has shown that he has upped it from where Mario took it, and we thought Mario took it as high as you could possibly take it. And now Dan Lanning is in the running to make maybe the number 1 recruiting class in the country.
Yeah.
DJ Pickett would have a huge part of that, but it seems to be down to Miami and Oregon now for him.
They got a shot at 3 or 4 more 5-star players, and it's pretty amazing to say elite Oregon recruiting classes over the years. If you get 1 5-star kid, that's a phenomenal class.
Yes.
When they signed Kayvon Thibodeau, it's like, oh my God, they got Kayvon Thibodeau, and he was a great player in college. To have the opportunity potentially to have 4, maybe 5 5-star prospects in the same recruiting class, we have never seen that in the history of Oregon football. I never even wrapped my head around that being a possibility in the history of Oregon football. And, of course, NIL is a massive, massive part of this.
I love how angry – I wanted to bring this up on Thursday when we have a show. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I've loved seeing the message board anger that USC, Michigan,
it's
all these fan bases have of just like, oh, must be so nice. Phil Knight. I'm like, I get it. I do. It is a big advantage for them.
And then USC bought Reggie Bush's family a house and gave Lindo White a $200,000 bag of cash.
Ohio State is spending, $20 million on their team? Like, let's not act like other programs aren't throwing money at situations.
SMU got shut down years ago.
Programs that just need to not bitch and moan.
It's hilarious because I think it's you. And I mentioned this. I did a segment on it when you were out. That Oregon fan needs to stop taking the bait. Who the hell cares how you get kids? You win a national championship. I don't care. You can throw any accusation you want at us. You think Swag's going to complain if the Dodgers win a World Series this year because his payroll's $1 billion? He doesn't care. He needs a real title, and he knows the COVID one isn't real, and it eats at him every night when he tries to.
Why you gotta go there?
Why do you gotta go?
But Oregon fan just needs to stop taking the bait. I don't care, but it is funny to see the fan bases who are the traditional blue bloods who think we should get these guys because we have been good for 100 years, and now you have a program who's been relevant for 25 years who's shaking things up and getting players that they didn't used to be able to get. But I think one of the most untalked about aspects of Oregon's recruiting, and this goes back to we can debate whether there was an offer, whether it was legit, whether it was none of that matters. What mattered in the moment, what we talked about in the moment, was when Lanning's name was connected to Alabama, and he released a video saying, I'm not going anywhere, and that had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of retweets. One of the biggest aspects that some of these kids look at is, do I trust the guy that I'm signing with, that he's going to be there for the duration of my career? Or am I going to be looking for a new head coach or looking for a new program because my head coach left after 1 or 2 years in college. And whether that's right or wrong, whether it ends up happening or not, there is a lot of trust in that guy being one of the few who is telling the truth in the sport right now, where very few people actually tell the truth. And I think he's benefiting from it. So, yes, money is a big part of it, but they're winning on the field. They're nationally relevant. He's won 10 games in both years he's been there. He won the Fiesta Bowl last year, and he's made a commitment, at least it appears, to Eugene to be there for the long haul and to try and win a national championship. And I think he's reaping the rewards of that recruiting-wise. I love their chances to get DJ Pickett. There's a 5-star safety, I believe Jonah Williams is his name, who's one of the top 15 players in the country.
They're projected to
Michael
land
Terry
him.
is a 5-star kid, safety as well. They got a chance to get him. Trey McNutt is a 5-star athlete. They got a chance to get him.
He's a safety. I believe he's listed as a
safety. One of those guys you can play anywhere you want on the field. Like, this is trending to potential. Steve Wiltfong did a segment the other day, and I was sitting in my house like, where do I find the Jergens lotion? Because he said Oregon has a legit chance to end with the number 1 recruiting class in the country. And Oregon has had great recruiting classes historically. Number 1, never in my wildest dreams did I think that was possible.
Just wondering if he was going to take a breath there.
It's very awkward to talk about high school recruits and you wanting to go get the lotion, but I see where you're going with that. To win a national championship,
It's like
you have to
talking
have...
about West Coast Conference basketball right
Yeah.
there.
And
I didn't expect that.
I heard you yesterday talking about it, actually. Not going to Wyoming. Going to this place. Like, you're already busting out a schedule yourself for Pilots basketball. So, yeah. I mean, look, all of that. The other thing about him, too, and I understand. If you're not a fan of Oregon and you're hearing this, whoever you're a fan of, you could certainly be rolling your eyes, and I wouldn't blame anybody. I'm just giving a thought. There's a lot of phoniness in this sport, and there is a lot of overselling and overpromising almost from everybody. It's a universal thing. Kansas State is being implicated in a bribe of NIL promise to a quarterback from a different program. Kansas State.
They lost their quarterback, and the Colorado State head coach, Jay Norvell, is saying that Kansas State called his starting quarterback and said, we'll give you $600K.
Kansas State.
If you enter the transfer portal.
Right? So, I like Chris Kleiman. Even he is dabbling in this. There is an element, though, I think it feels like Lanning is as genuine in that industry as you get. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of promises made, and there's guys that are 3-4-star guys that don't maybe get what they thought they'd get when they go to Oregon. It's no different than any other program. I heard stories of Mike Riley at Oregon State from guys who didn't maybe play to a certain standard. It happens everywhere. But I do think the authenticity of who Dan Lanning is a definite big part of this on top of the NIL. So we'll see. They're projected to land DJ Pickett, but they're in a battle for him with Miami.
Stealing him out of Miami's backyard from Mario Cristobal.
That has to feel so good. To see what he's done in the recruiting business for Oregon and then to do it to Mario, it's got to feel so good.
I had a full-body boner for 2 weeks.
It also, just knowing this, not having a personal relationship, but just kind of knowing how he operates, that's got to piss Mario off.
Oh, you know it does.
On such a level internally.
You know it does, man.
So we'll see if they end up landing him. Andy Staples put Oregon in the contending to be a blue blood status, and that also sent shockwaves of, why don't you win a national championship before you're in this conversation?
Yeah, I would actually flip it and say, why don't you do something relevant this century to be in that conversation? Because there are some programs who have not done anything relevant in 40 years.
He put Penn State on that level.
What are we doing here, dude? What are we doing here? It's not 1984. That was a long time ago,
They're
man.
a good program.
Yes.
They're not.
Why is Nebraska still on that list? I love Nebraska. What are we doing?
I don't think you do love Nebraska based on your commentary.
Do
lately.
something this century, and then we'll talk.